Good morning and welcome into Pigskin with Pancakes. I'm the host, Paige Zamacos, here with Jamie Eisner and Chris Schubert, and we are hanging out, helping you set your fantasy football lineup this morning. But first and foremost, how are the guys doing this morning?
I'm doing all right.
You're doing all right?
I have some tough
You
lineup.
look, a sneak peek of what was going on right as the show's starting. Chris is freaking out.
I'm a little nervous.
Okay, so tell everybody
I have a
what's
big
going on
roster
here.
decision I have to make because half of my lineup in terms of wide receivers are either hurt or injured this week.
Okay, so what do we need to do? Let's let somebody else
All right,
out there
we
might
got
have the same
Corey
problem.
Davis and Kenny Galladay both out with injury this week.
All right.
And then I have Jamison Crowder and Brandon Coleman who are both on bye week.
Correct.
I need to pick somebody up.
Okay, who's available?
And the guy I'm leaning towards, and I don't want to give away too much because we're going to talk about him a little bit later, Travis Benjamin
want to give
of the
away
Los
too
Angeles.
What is it, Chris? Why do we do this show?
To give away stuff.
Yeah,
okay, so I don't want to give away too much.
I don't want to give away too much. Got it.
On our fantasy football
Well, I
advice
don't want
show,
somebody in my league to pick up Travis
you are
Benjamin.
literally picking them up now.
Yeah, he is,
Hi
yes.
at Chris's league.
Yeah. Don't pick
Hopefully
up
you're,
Travis Benjamin.
hopefully
They're
you're
not
paying,
watching, Chris.
hopefully you're paying attention. We're going to go right into the first matchup of this morning. Obviously, Thursday Night Football already happened, so we're getting to the Jets and the Browns.
So we're getting the bad one out of the way.
Yeah,
Good.
let's just start with the bad.
Plan.
Let's move into some better stuff. So, guys, I'll let you guys kick these off. Quarterbacks here that you like, maybe?
Do you like anybody here?
Kind of like Josh McCown, and there were a lot of quarterbacks on bye or hurt or in tough matchups. He might be a sneaky play. Right now, the Browns are allowing the 5th most fantasy points to quarterbacks. 32nd ranked in DVOA. You're one of your favorite stats.
It's Chris's favorite
I love
stats.
that.
2 QB league, maybe 14-16 team league. I think actually Josh McCown could be an emergency play for you this week.
Let's remember what Jacoby Brissett did against this Browns defense a couple of
Yep.
weeks ago in Indy's only win on the season. He was able to use both his legs and his arms to put up a lot of fantasy points. You don't have that with Josh McCown, but I agree with you. I think this week it's a good play because the Browns give up a lot of points.
Bilal Powell had a really good week last week. Is he someone you're feeling comfortable starting? Maybe he's not your RB1, but he's an RB2 or a flex spot this
So
week?
I'm down on him more than most because I think his numbers are misleading because the Jacksonville Jaguars forgot how to tackle somebody on his 75-yard touchdown run.
You mean, on the elite Jacksonville
Yeah,
Jaguars
the
defense?
Jacksonville Jaguars defense, which,
Throwing that
by the
back
way,
in your face.
when we talk about Jacksonville, their run defense is probably their biggest weakness. So the Jets were able to exploit that last week. So I like Bilal Powell. He was one of the Jets before the season that you thought this is the guy that maybe can score some fantasy points, but I think it's a little bit misleading because of that big touchdown run.
Yeah, but I like volume plays, and especially at the running back position. Bilal Powell playing 66% of the Jets' offensive snaps, getting 64% of the carries. No, he's may not have that huge run for a touchdown like he did last week, but I like volume plays at that position. It'll come up later in the show. I think you start Bilal Powell with confidence today as your RB2 or your flex spot.
How about Duke Johnson, Isaiah Crowell? Let's talk about the Browns' backfield there. How do you guys feel about those guys this week, and who's the guy that you're going to feel more confident starting this week?
Before the season, we thought it would be Isaiah Crowell. And last week was very interesting because he led, Duke Johnson led the Browns' backfield in snaps last week with 36. Isaiah Crowell only had 22. So the Jets have allowed 25 receptions to running backs. They're going to use the ball carrier out of the backfield. I think Duke Johnson is the guy that you want. And history tells us Isaiah Crowell didn't do that great against the Jets last season. So I like Duke Johnson this week.
I do as well. He's going to catch some passes out of the backfield. 25 receptions allowed by the Jets to running backs this year. So in a PPR league, you definitely want to start Duke Johnson, and you definitely want to sit Isaiah Crowell in a PPR league. I'm sitting Isaiah Crowell until further notice.
Yeah, I had him last year, and he was one of those guys that started off pretty strong and then tailed off about this time in the season.
And we're seeing the continuation of that
exactly.
this year.
And I like Duke Johnson, so I'm with you guys on there. Is there anybody else you need to watch out for? I know a lot of people are in love with the shiny new toy, a.k.a. Deshaun Kaiser.
You like a guy on the Jets.
Okay.
I do.
That is interesting because I don't like anybody on the Jets.
Well, you're a Jets fan, so that would make sense.
Well, that's true. I like Austin Seferian-Jenkins. I know he's kind of the sexy play this week at tight end if you need to. I benched Kyle Rudolph this week in my league and picked up Austin Seferian-Jenkins to start him. Let me name these 3 tight ends to you and tell me what they all have in common. Jesse James, Ben Watson, Tyler Kroft.
They all played against the Browns.
They did, and that's a who's who of mediocre players.
Yeah.
20 catches for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Browns this season. You start all your tight ends against the Browns. I think Austin Seferian-Jenkins is going to have a huge game today. If he's still on your waiver wire, pick him up and start him if you don't have one of the top 3 or 4 tight ends in fantasy this week.
Well, and the issue with tight ends is across the board. Well, there's a lot of people that are injured. Gronkowski, Tyler Eifert, some of the elite guys that you try to tend to play and gravitate towards. And overall, this position group is always very hard to guess. But this year, it's been really bad this year.
The Jets have another thing that I like a lot is whoever their number 1 wide receiver is going to be this week, and it's probably Robbie Anderson.
But yeah, you never know.
You just don't know. that person's probably going to be able to have a good game because the Browns allow close to 117 yards per game to the #1 wide receiver on opposing teams. No Joe Hayden anymore. They're kind of trying to piece together what their cornerback situation looks like. So whoever it ends up being, and it's probably Robbie Anderson, he can probably have a good day.
All right, guys, let's get into the next game here, and that's the Cardinals and the Eagles. The Cardinals always struggle going to the East Coast, especially in these early morning games. We're here in Phoenix, Arizona. We know, we've watched this team, we watched them closely. So let's kick things off with Carson Palmer.
Okay.
Do you guys think he's one of those guys that we talked about in start and sit, where we're looking at guys and we're going back and forth and we're going, okay, is he a guy who's had a little progress the last few weeks? How confident are you feeling about Carson Palmer?
Let's bring up that word again. Volume play. And I think you don't need to be efficient, you just need to throw the ball a lot. 183 passes through 4 games this year. The Cardinals are throwing on almost 70% of their plays. They know they can't run the ball without David Johnson. They're not even trying to run the ball without David Johnson.
They're admitting.
It's not the greatest matchup. It's not the greatest scenario surrounding the Cardinals. They've historically performed quite poorly as that West Coast team going to the East Coast for the 1 p.m. Eastern start time. But Palmer's going to throw a lot. So if you're in a bind right now, maybe you're a Mariota owner, maybe your quarterback's on bye, Carson Palmer could be a top 10 play this week just based on his volume.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think I've made my criticisms of Carson as a fantasy player pretty clear. He gets sacked a ton. He just, I never know.
He puts up a lot of yards, but to Jamie's play,
he's
throwing the ball a lot,
yes.
more so than he has in the past, and he always was throwing the ball
And it's out of necessity because of the way their offense is structured without David Johnson. So I think I'll agree with you. I don't know if I'm playing him, I'm going and picking him up and playing him this week, but if I have Marcus Mariota, or if I'm not sure if Sam Bradford's going to play this week, or I have a quarterback where my quarterback's on a bye, Carson Palmer may be a good get-me-through-this-week guy and reevaluate later. So I'm not sold on him yet because of all the sacks that he's going to take. I wonder if that's going to limit his productivity. It hasn't so far, but I wonder if it does catch up to him at some point. So I'm with Jamie. I'll take him this week if I need a guy. But long-term, I don't think he's a play beyond this week.
He's a guy that usually you have another quarterback in your league. But in a 12-team or a 16-team league, you're going for it. You're starting Carson Palmer usually every week. Now, I know, Jamie, you have a stat you like here with Larry Fitzgerald, so let's show that and let's talk about the man, the myth, the legend, Larry Fitzgerald.
Quite simply, Larry Fitzgerald owns the Eagles in 7 games versus them in the regular season. 41 catches, 693 yards, 8 touchdowns. That doesn't include
That's a lot of fantasy points.
And it doesn't even include his standout performance in the NFC Championship game from several years back against the Eagles. He owns them. The Eagles secondary is banged up right now. I think he's going to eat. I think he's going to have a huge game this week. And if he's, again, you're starting him no matter what, but you're confident in him as a wide receiver 1 this week.
For sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. I think this is going to be, he has history against this team. I worry about them being a little sluggish coming out of the gates because of that West Coast to East Coast thing. But I think by the time the game's over, you'll be glad that you played Larry this week.
All right, let's talk about the other offensive pieces there for the Arizona Cardinals. And Andre Ellington, Jerron Brown, John Brown, J.J. Nelson. I've always was leaning towards J.J. Nelson in the past few weeks just because he has that high upside. He's always the guy that they're throwing the ball downfield. But now John Brown's back. So it changes the dynamic here. And Jerron Brown was a guy that you saw Carson go to a couple of times. So who do you guys like the most of the wide receiving core there?
After Larry, I mean, and I don't know where you stand on this. I think it's got to be Jerron Brown.
I agree, 100%.
I just think right now he's the guy. You're still kind of trying to work John Brown back into the offense, and they're trying to take him there. He's out there, he's playing, but that injury that he had, they're taking it slow with him because this is not the first time he's had injuries that have been slow for him to come back. So they're really taking their time with that. And in his absence, it's been Jerron Brown who's really picked up the slack and is getting the ball thrown his way a lot. I think J.J. Nelson's a really good deep threat, but they kind of need somebody to help them over the middle. I think Jerron Brown does that for them while still being able to catch the deep ball. So I think Jerron Brown is probably the guy that I like the most out of the rest of the Cardinals wide receivers.
Yeah, and to your point, 29 targets in the last 3 weeks, 8th most of any receiver in football. Jerron Brown, for right now, for this portion of the season, is the #2 Arizona Cardinals receiver that you want on your fantasy team.
How do you guys feel about Andre Ellington? Because
he's the only Cardinals back I'm touching.
But here's, for sure. And here's the point I'll make on this. 3 weeks ago, it was, Kerwin Williams is the Cardinals running back that we like. And then the week after that, it was Chris Johnson. I just think there's so much just movement with these running backs that no one has established themselves as a guy that I can't trust
The only thing with Andre is that Andre catches passes out of the backfield.
He does.
And he's a dual threat back. And all along, Andre was the best running back there. He was the best running back, but it felt like the Cardinals were trying to make Chris Johnson happen. They were trying to make Kerwin Williams happen. And consistently, Andre Ellington just kept doing his thing.
And back to the stat we talked about with Palmer, the Cardinals are throwing 70% of the time. You're not picking up any of these running backs because of what they're going to do in the running game.
No.
You want Ellington because of what he can do in the pass game. He's a startable player every week in PPR. He's a potential high upside flex play in standard leagues. Don't worry about Chris Johnson. Don't worry about Kerwin Williams.
Yeah, do not.
Ellington's the only one you want.
They're on the do not start. They should not be on your. They should not be on your bench. They shouldn't be anywhere near your fantasy football team. Let's talk about the Eagles. Carson Wentz. This is a 3-1 football team. Okay, they're
pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're leading the division, and they have some pieces to like. Specifically, I've always talked about Zach Ertz, but let's start with the quarterback. Do you guys like Carson Wentz in this matchup specifically?
This is a tough one because there's a corner on the Arizona Cardinals that's pretty good. His name's Patrick Peterson. He's going to make
Don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's really good. He's going to make life difficult for Carson Wentz to get the ball to his number one target in Alshon Jeffrey, which impacts Jeffrey's fantasy value as well. But no Marcus Golden for the Cardinals eliminates one of their pass rushers, which means this offensive line for the Eagles can really focus on Chandler Jones, and maybe that gives Carson more time to use his running backs out of the backfield to hook up with a Nelson Aguilar or Zach Ertz. I mean, he's got all those weapons in the backfield. I don't love it, but if you have Carson Wentz, he's done enough so far that you really can't sit him down.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult because the funny thing is I think the Eagles win this game, so somebody on offense is going to score points. I just don't know where they're going to come from. Cardinals have only allowed 2 passing touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. The Eagles have talked about they're going to move Alshon Jeffrey around a little bit to kind of keep him away from Patrick Peterson, but I don't know how much I trust that in the offense.
Where we've been down on the tight ends, this is where Zach Ertz, and I'll continue to preach this, every week in and week out he's been a part of this offense, and the stat here that Jamie's given me is 3 touchdowns in 3 games versus AZ, so he knows that he can get the ball, and this is probably the most comfortable you feel with a position player because you know that Patrick Peterson's going to take away Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah, and he's going to take away Alshon Jeffrey. I mean, I kudos to the Eagles for trying to move Alshon Jeffrey around, but I don't know how successful that's going to be.
Or how long they'll stick with it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not working, they're going to have to try to change things up. The running backs in this matchup for the Eagles are really interesting because Wendell Smallwood's probably not going to play, and that means LeGarrette Blount, who did finally have that one good game, he got over 100 yards, didn't get into the end zone. Guys, I don't love this.
Yeah, I don't think you want to start any Eagles running back unless you have to. Cardinals are allowing the 5th fewest points to fantasy running backs this year. Corey Clement might be, again, if you're in a deep league, you might be interested, but I'm if you have LeGarrette Blount, odds are you're probably starting him in a flex this week given the bye week situation, but I wouldn't be confident with any Eagles offensive player that's not named Zach Ertz on my team this week.
Yeah, and I would tell you that I just looked it up on Twitter as of 2 minutes ago, Smallwood is officially out.
Yeah,
if you are feeling comfortable with anybody there, it's probably LeGarrette Blount.
Because he had that most recent success, but even then, the sample size there with him is not good enough to justify starting him with confidence.
And Smallwood was playing more last week than
he was until he got hurt. So
it's also worth mentioning that the Cardinals are the 4th ranked rushing defense.
They're very good against
in fantasy football. So that also lends you to believe this is probably not necessarily a good matchup. Now, Bills and Bengals, another team that is very surprising offensively is the Buffalo Bills. This has been a team that, Chris, at the beginning of the season, this was your theory that they were trying to get rid of Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah,
and it kind of felt like that's what they were doing.
Apparently he didn't want to play along.
Yeah, he's not playing. They're not tanking. They're leading that division. So let's start off with the Bills and what we like most about that team not named LaShawn McCoy.
Tyrod Taylor last week was asked one thing by his coaches. Don't turn the ball over and we'll win the football.
Well, here's the thing. He was asked one thing by me last week and was to beat you and Cam Newton, and he didn't do, and he couldn't get that. He didn't get the job.
I didn't do that.
He didn't get the job done. He was literally, don't turn the ball over. We think we have a chance to win. He didn't do that. He did not turn the ball over last week, which was good. But I look at Tyrod Taylor, and the big thing in terms of fantasy value for him is he going to be able to extend plays and run the ball? Because that is where he adds value than just a normal quarterback that's going to stand in the pocket like a Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer's not running anywhere. He's not going anywhere.
He's the definition of a pocket
Yeah, he may be
passer.
running for his life. That is a good point. But Tyrod Taylor's going to be a guy that can extend plays, and that gives him more value. So I like him. But this is a tough matchup for them. They just had 2 straight weeks where they beat the Broncos and the Falcons in a bit of a surprise. I'm feeling that this could be a letdown game, but the Bengals are so bad that I think Tyrod Taylor is going to have some success this week.
But that Bengals defense can have success at home, and I think you're going to see a very similar game this week as to last week. We talked about the high floor because of what he's able to do with his legs. That still exists, but I don't think he's going to have a massive game this week. I think he's going to give you that average around 10, 11 fantasy points, and I think there are better high upside options out there, but if you're looking for a safe route, especially with all the QBs on bye or hurt this week, maybe you insert Tyrod Taylor in your lineup, but just don't expect much.
How about my boy Charles Clay?
Your boy.
My boy Charles Clay, because he's been, like I said, it was my favorite stat. The last 3 weeks of last season and the first 4 weeks, he was the highest scoring tight end in fantasy football. I've seen the statistics in front of me, and they're not very good.
Yeah, Jamie has supplied some statistics to your Charles Clay theory.
Yeah, because this is making me think twice about starting Charles Clay today.
It's tough with these because last time he faced the Bengals, only 23 yards on 5 catches. It's tough to look at that and say, well, just because he had struggled last time, just like Tyrod struggled last time, will he struggle again? What I do like is he's catching 28% of all the Bills' catches right now.
Because they don't employ any wide receivers.
They don't.
We looked at the depth chart. Can we confirm whether or not they have wide receivers?
Yeah, they have no
Zay
wide
Jones,
receivers.
I mean, is he still
Is he even in the league?
No, I don't think he's in the league anymore.
No. I think Chris Schubert's starting.
Yeah,
for
I'm actually
the Buffalo Bills today,
after this, I got to
receiver.
fly. I'm to Cincinnati. I'm playing for the Bills today.
Yeah, so that's the only reason I look at Clay. And like we said, I'll continue to go back to this, but there is like no tight ends available.
We caught a big catch last week in that game on one of their touchdown drives, which was really important. So he's a guy that Tyrod Taylor trusts in those big moments. So that should be something. If this game is close and they need to score a touchdown, Clay is going to be the guy that Tyrod Taylor leans on. So you have some, that is a good thing.
You just hope for a touchdown.
Yeah,
so you hope he gets a couple of passes and a touchdown.
If he gets in the end zone, he's going to be worth it.
It's a fantasy wasteland at the tight end position this week. You're starting him.
It's always a fantasy
But especially this week, you're starting him.
Yeah. All right, let's look at Cincinnati. They have a lot of they struggled at the beginning of the season. They've kind of turned it on offensively. And you like all of the position players here because they have a lot to like. But let's start off with the running game because I know this has been a focal point. This has been the frustration of this team as a fantasy owner for a long time. The Giovanni Bernard, Jeremy Hill train, trying to figure out on a week-to-week basis what they were doing. And now they've added Joe Mixon. So do we like any of these running backs this week?
Jamie before the season was like, Joe Mixon, I like Joe Mixon a lot. He's finally starting to get that role in the offense that is going to allow him to be successful.
Yeah, and I said when you drafted Joe Mixon, you were drafting for the long game. You were drafting for the back half of the season, the postseason, not the first few weeks. Since Bill Lazor took over as offensive coordinator, Mixon has played 65 snaps compared to Bernard's 34. They like Joe Mixon. They realized, oh, you know what, maybe we give the football to our most talented running back instead of our second and third most talented running backs. That breakout game is coming. It could be this week. It could be next week. It is coming. You want to be a week ahead of everybody else when you start this player. This could be the week, but again, I still do want to see that breakout performance from Joe Mixon. But all the peripherals say it's coming and it's coming soon.
He's probably a flex play this week.
Yeah,
I don't know if I have a whole lot of confidence in him as an RB2 until that breakout game happens. But I think he'll put up enough points in a flex spot.
High upside.
And there's high upside in the flex spot as well to justify this. Andy, can we talk about Andy Dalton for a second?
I was just going to say, let's talk about the Red Rifle.
Okay.
Let's talk about it. Because he deserves a little credit. Though.
Yeah, it's
just
a little misleading.
credit.
He owns the Cleveland Browns. He's the mayor of Cleveland. Andy Dalton. Someone's going to change the Wikipedia page. Andy Dalton is the mayor of Cleveland.
I'm going to do it right now.
Because he just owns that team. He puts up numbers against them. So when I see he's thrown 6 touchdowns over his last 2 games, I have to take into context 4 of them came against the Cleveland Browns last week. The Bills, they got a good pass defense. 1 passing touchdown that they've allowed this season. And we know, because I've said this a bunch, does everyone remember Andy Dalton threw 4 interceptions in the first game of the regular season?
He sure did.
So
I remember.
He is prone to the turnover. And against the Bills defense, it's very good in limiting the pass. I don't know if I necessarily love this. You're probably going to play him, but I don't love him.
Yeah, I mean, if Carson Palmer's available in your league, I go get him right away.
Yeah.
I probably even might start Tyrod Taylor over him in this game just because he's safer. But it's tough out there. I don't buy Andy Dalton at all right now.
No. Guys, we have a question. So let's do we'll take a little break from the matchups and get a question in
Twitter
here.
question?
We have is Amari Cooper still alive? With the follow-up question, Amari Cooper, Brandon Marshall, or J.J. Nelson this week? The emoji with the no emotion and the gun to the face it's doing it for me this morning. It's not good.
Ouch.
Not good.
I will say this though before you say your guy, and this is a credit to Matthew Berry of ESPN. I believe they looked it up, and since week 14 of last season, Amari Cooper's being outscored by Steve Smith Sr., outscored by Cameron Meredith,
oh boy,
and outscored by Julian Edelman. And what did those 3 people have in common?
They're all not playing.
They didn't play the season. Don't start Amari Cooper, ever.
But Brandon Marshall and J.J. Nelson?
Hold on.
Okay.
There's a guy there that everyone's missing the boat on. Okay, it's not Amari Cooper. I'm off that bandwagon.
Okay.
And it is not, who's the third guy? I can't think of the third guy.
Nelson.
It's not J.J. Nelson.
Oh, boy. Are you going to try and tell me that we should start Brandon Marshall?
It's Brandon Marshall.
Dear God.
Because we're going to talk about him a little bit later on. his role in this offense, the amount of targets that he's getting on a week-to-week basis are finally becoming normalized. The first 2 weeks, he wasn't involved. He was still trying to find his role. You look at what he's done the last 2 weeks, the ball is going his direction, and with teams trying to take away Odell Beckham Jr., it is going to be Brandon Marshall and Sterling Shepard that get a lot more attention, and I think it's Brandon Marshall this week. I really do. I really like him.
Well, I don't like any of those guys. Like, I look at those and I go, nah.
I'm taking Marshall out of those three.
But if you got to choose.
I'm going Marshall.
Yeah, I kind of lean towards you because Amari Cooper, is he alive? Yeah, the jury's still out on that one, that he's actually has a pulse and playing football still, so I'm not sure.
Amari Cooper just dropped another pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This time from E.J. Manuel.
Yeah, we all know how Jamie feels about Amari Cooper.
Also, E.J. Manuel is throwing him passes today. So
we'll get into that. We'll get into that extremely ugly game later on. All right, next up, Panthers, Lions. Last week we had a nice little bet between these two, which Jamie ended up losing.
He did. By a lot.
By a lot.
I was very wrong about
and here's where I'll defend Jamie a little bit. The New England Patriots have to be the worst fantasy defense that exists.
No, they are.
Though they are. They are atrocious.
Yes.
So I know they played on Thursday night, they did look a little bit better, but they're still on notice. Because
the Patriots defense?
Oh, they're still on notice.
Still be on notice. Yeah,
they're still on notice because Jameis did kind of get things going in the second half of that game, and it was a Thursday night, so I usually throw those games out. But let's start with Cam Newton.
Yeah, let's ask Mr. Debbie Downer on Cam Newton what he thinks of Cam Newton.
All right, let's start with Cam Newton.
I don't like him this week.
I don't like him either.
The Lions are a sneaky good defense, and Cam Newton the Lions are only allowing 1 passing touchdown per game this season. Cam Newton with 2 touchdowns, 4 picks in 2 career games against the Lions. This is not the time to start him.
I was with some friends last night, and they had some fantasy questions. And one in particular was Cam Newton against Detroit or Deshaun Watson against Kansas City. And I went, man, those are some 2 tough matchups. I'm playing Deshaun Watson. I really like this Lions defense. They've been really good this year. They're sneaky good. Nobody gives them the attention they deserve.
Not only that, but you have to, with Detroit, they're like, other than the Kansas City Chiefs, they're the most consistent week in and week out football team collectively. So I'm totally in agreement with you guys. I think Cam Newton, and aside from that, there's been a lot of distractions. As we all know, we don't need to get into that. But that tends to lean into your play. I mean, it definitely impacts you. They're on the road. I just don't see a big week from Cam Newton this week. Now let's talk about the backfield. Jonathan Stewart, Christian McCaffrey.
So tough. It's, hands in the air. I don't know what to do with this.
We need the emoji.
McCaffrey's the perfect example of don't buy into the hype. Don't buy into the preseason hype. He's not going to be used in that offense the same way that he was used in college, and he's not going to be used that way for at least a little bit here. Stewart's getting touches. He gets 13 carries a week, but if he doesn't fall into the end zone, he has very little fantasy value.
Fall into the end zone.
If he doesn't fall into the end zone. All right, let's switch over to the Lions. And I know, James, one of you guys, we got a Matthew Stafford graphic that we have to get to. And Matthew Stafford, we need to give Stafford some love because he's one of those guys. Yes, he got paid.
Big new contract.
But he doesn't get any love in the media.
No,
so, Jamie, why are we giving him love this week?
6 TDs in 2 career games against the Panthers. I mean, he plays very well at home. He plays very well against the Carolina defense. I'm all about it this week. Again, in a week with so few quarterbacks at the top end. Obviously, you're starting Matthew Stafford most weeks anyway, but if you had any reservations about starting him this week, don't. He's going to have a big game.
Do you guys like anybody else here? Do you like Ebron? Do you like Amir Abdullah? Do you like anybody else here or any of these other position players? Amir has struggled to he's had good weeks up and down, but this is a week where you got bye weeks, so you're going to have to play some of these guys who are kind of on the fringe. So is there any upside here for any of these guys?
I think when I look at this Panther running back position, I look at the Lions running back position, it reminds me a lot of the Panthers running back position, where there are 2 guys that on a given week, I don't know which one of them is going to be the guy. Amir Abdullah is getting touches, he's getting the ball, but he doesn't have that big game every week. Theo Riddick, he's the guy that's catching the ball out of the backfield. The Panthers giving up a lot of receptions out of the backfield to running back. So, if you have one of them, I think you can play them with a little bit of confidence, knowing that you're going to get some production out of them. But just know they're going to split time. They're both going to be out there, so it's going to be tough for them to have that big game.
Yeah, as far as pass catcher goes, I'm out on Eric Ebron. Only played 43% of snaps last week. Got outsnapped by Darren Fells. That ain't going to cut it.
That ain't going to cut it.
It's a Darren Fells reference.
Yeah, that's not good.
Darren Fells.
825, Darren Fells. All right, 49ers, Colts. Chris, I'm going to let you kick things off here because I know you are in love.
It's not a crush.
It's not
we're
a crush.
We're not at crush levels yet.
No, he's in love. He's gone past crush levels. He's smitten with Trent Taylor.
Trent Taylor. This is a guy on the San Francisco 49ers team that I don't think anyone is talking about. Look at those numbers. He saw 45 snaps through the first 2 weeks of the season in total, okay? Last week against the Cardinals, he saw 47 alone. The reason why, Marquise Goodwin dealing with that concussion. Not sure what his status is going to be for today's game. Even if he does get cleared and is able to play, what type of production is he going to be able to have? This is the guy that I think steps into that role and becomes a big-time target for them. So I really like Trent Taylor this week. I think I like Trent Taylor going forward a lot because I think if he starts to develop and starts to have that big game, he's going to find an increased role in this offense. Trent Taylor, a guy I'm keeping my eye on.
Trent Taylor, a guy you're keeping your eye on. All right, how about the rest of this 49ers offense? Pierre Garçon, it's some old Frank Gore. I'm going to Frank Gore on the other side of the ball. Carlos Hyde. Are there any other position players you guys like this week?
So the Colts have allowed all 4 quarterbacks they've played this year to score 16 fantasy points.
It's pretty good.
It's Brian Hoyer.
But Brian Hoyer had himself a couple of good weeks. He's had himself
the 49ers have scored 5 touchdowns all season. Okay. They all came in one game against the Rams. I mean, they haven't scored a touchdown against anybody other that is not named the Los Angeles Rams. And the points that the Colts have given up the last 2 weeks, they've given up a lot to both DeShone Kizer and Russell Wilson. What do both of those guys do that Brian Hoyer does not? They're able to run the football. Yep. They're able to get in the end zone using their legs. Brian Hoyer cannot do that. Now, Hoyer's not going to turn the ball over, so you like that as a plus. But I think you can play Hoyer if you have an Andy Dalton, or if you have a guy in a bye week, or you're in a 2 QB league, and know that you're going to get probably around 16 points for him. But I don't expect the big breakout game.
How about Carlos Hyde? You guys like? I mean, Hyde's one of those guys that I feel like he would be. It's almost like a Todd Gurley type of thing. He's a very talented guy. He's just not in the right offense. So he needed a different offensive coach. He needs something else besides him to be really productive.
Against the Cardinals, who have a pretty good run defense, he had 21 touches for 95 total yards.
Pretty good.
The Colts have held 3 of their 4 opponents this season to less than 80 rushing yards as a team. I mean, that is just...
It's one of the rare things the Colts do well.
They stop the run. And that's where I don't like this matchup for Carlos Hyde, is he's going up against a team that through 4 games of the season, they've done a really nice job of stopping opposing running backs from having that big game. Now, if he gets into the end zone and has those 80 yards, it's a different story. But if he's only getting those 80 yards and he's not getting in the end zone, it is a problem.
How about Indianapolis? I know people like to just throw this whole team out until Andrew Luck comes back, but you probably might need to start. I mean, that's what I'm talking about, these bye weeks. You might need to start a guy like Frank Gore. You might need to start some of these guys. Now, Jack Doyle, I know, is not playing.
Not playing, so don't play him.
Yeah, he's been one of those guys that's kind of been on the fence. You feel pretty good about him for a tight end position, but anybody else there?
All right, Frank Gore is an absolute sit down on the bench, don't play him. He is no longer on your team.
You're not buying him as not buying the Frank Gore revenge game here?
He seems to get the ball around 15 times a game. That seems like a nice number, right?
Yeah, pretty good.
He hasn't topped 57 rushing yards in a game this year.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's bad.
For those of you at home, that's not very good.
He needs to get in the end zone, and he's not even the guy that's getting the goal line touches.
Okay.
Frank Gore is a guy that needs to be on your waiver wire immediately. You better see his name when you go to add player. He better be there.
He's one of those guys that...
You throw Frank Gore in.
You throw him in there because it's a name that people know, and they're like, oh, I'm getting Frank Gore too.
Yep.
But it's really nothing. You're going to drop him anyways. So this is that time where you start doing some of those trades.
The last 2 weeks, the 49ers have allowed 3 100-yard wide receivers. So I think you can play T.Y. Hilton with a little confidence. You can play T.Y. Hilton with confidence this week.
Okay.
Dante Moncrief might be a deeper play, maybe a daily fantasy play if you're looking for a sleeper
flex,
guy. I think
league.
he's a guy there as well. That's about it.
Yeah, and if you're in a pinch at QB for those reasons, Jacoby Brissett could be an option for you again.
Yikes.
It's not great, but
I have to start Jacoby Brissett in my league this week.
I am rest in peace, Jamie's fantasy football team. All right, Titans and Dolphins. We got some good and we got some bad here. So where do you guys want to start?
Go
ahead, Chris. We know this show is all about Chris now, so go ahead, Chris.
This is the crush of the week right here. It's in this matchup.
I know.
He's right here. He's your boy.
No, do not call him my boy.
He's your boy.
Do not do that. Do not point at me, Chris.
This is the moment. This is the moment.
This is not that moment.
When you drafted Jay Cutler in all of your fantasy leagues. This is the moment that you were waiting for. So all of the Jay Cutler owners out there who've jumped off the bandwagon, you need to get back on. Because look at this. I said this last week about New England.
Looks like he's getting ready to throw off his back foot.
Y'all laughed at me, and Cam Newton won me a free breakfast I'm still waiting on, Jamie. Tennessee gives up the second most points to quarterbacks this season at 23.9, and they also give up the second most points to wide receivers. Add to that Jay Cutler this season is having a career-high 67 completion percentage.
Which is unbelievable since the last few games they have literally not thrown the ball at all.
This is where Jay Cutler's good season turns into points. This is where he has that big game against a Tennessee team that is going to be reeling because they don't have a quarterback, against a secondary that's not very good. This is where Jay Cutler has a big game. Jamie, if you want to pick another quarterback, we can have another bet. You want to go double or nothing? Go ahead.
Okay, first and foremost, I got to give this update because it literally was tweeted 36 seconds ago from the Tennessee Titans. Matt Castle will officially start today at quarterback versus the Miami Dolphins. So Marcus Mariota is officially out, so now we can react live to that because that means position players other than DeMarco Murray move to the side.
Do not play a Tennessee wide receiver.
You're legally obligated to play the tight end. You're legally if you're starting.
You are because
you have to start Delaney. You have to play Delaney Walker. There's nobody that's going to be on your waiver wire better than Delaney Walker. You're going to start the two Titans running backs. Again, Murray's the guy you want right now, but if you have Derrick Henry, he might get increased workload. You're not. I mean, don't even think for 2 seconds, even in a 20-team league, about Matt Castle.
Let's revisit that again. Marcus Mariota officially out, guys. So that means, like we said, DeMarco Murray you feel really good about because they're going to try and run the ball. Although, if they get down a lot and they start forcing the ball down the field, this could get ugly really quick. But I know we have a haters gonna hate going in this
double
one.
graphic segment for this game.
We have a haters gonna hate in this one, and this is Jay Ajayi.
Let's give Jamie some credit because after a very terrible first week for him.
Let's give him some credit.
Where he said Stephon Diggs was his haters going to hate, and Stephon Diggs went out there and had a good game. You followed that up with T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, 3 for 30, T.Y. Hilton.
And he did not have a good game. So you're now even. So this is the one that's going to really
this is the rubber match.
Yes.
All right, so why do you hate him?
No, I hate Jay Ajayi this week simply because this is a volume again. His snap rate has dropped more than 30% in the last 3 weeks. He's only averaging 3.2 yards a carry. Again, so since that Chargers game, we had 28 carries for 122 yards, 11 carries and 12 respectively in the last 2. He only has 3 catches in the last 2 weeks in that time span. They're just not using him that much. And if Jay Cutler is going to be this great quarterback who's just going to be throwing deep passes to Devontae Parker for 80-yard touchdowns all game, then Ajayi is just going to continue to not get the workload that we expect.
Can I add on to that?
Absolutely.
The run defense is probably the best part of this Tennessee defense. Their passing defense, trash, garbage, whatever word you want to use.
We're going to pull out Jamie's
trash, garbage, whatever
real
you want
bad.
to use. And he played 94% of the snaps in week 2. This is a little bit more advanced on your number about his snap rate going down. He played 94% of snaps in week 2. Over the last 2 weeks, 57%.
Okay.
That is a massive drop-off for an RB1, and the production ain't coming with him.
Nope.
The production is also bad. So Tennessee holds their opponents to less than 4 yards a carry. This is a very bad matchup for Jay Ajayi. I would sit him down if I owned him. I would sit him down.
It's not
good.
It's not looking pretty, although this game is going to be very interesting now with Marcus Mariota for sure being out. We're getting a lot of people that are tweeting at me being very angry. They're very upset about Marcus Mariota that he's not playing. They're just trying to figure out what they're going to do offensively because these players are owned across the league.
It's true.
All these guys. And people are freaking out about what's going to happen with DeMarco Murray here. A lot of people have Derrick Henry, the backup there. A lot of these other guys. I'm getting a lot of tweets here about this offensive unit. And if you have Matt Castle, I'm sorry, but I'm leaning towards getting away from everybody that plays on the Titans offense.
Yeah, you're playing Murray. I think it doesn't help Murray. I think this maybe helps Henry more than anything else.
Sure.
He might get some more touches this week. It hurts you if you're a Rashard Matthews owner for whatever reason. You were still hoping to start him in a flex position or a wide receiver 3 this week. He's unplayable.
And this is a guy.
We got a question that just made me live. That was my reaction.
All right,
I read it and went, oh God.
I need to hear it now. What is it?
I'm curious.
His name's Tony.
Okay, Tony.
Shout out to TL7 on Twitter. He goes, Paige, my whole team is really hurt, so don't judge me. Well, I'm judging you.
What's his team this week?
Alex Collins or Wayne Gallman?
Oh, this is easy. This is Wayne Gallman.
Finally started to show something in the offense last week.
This is Wayne Gallman. They finally found a guy that can produce out of the backfield.
I'll tell him.
Wayne Gallman. Yep.
Wayne Gallman.
Wayne Gallman. That's the answer.
That's for sure.
To go to how far this Marcus Mariota injury impacts the rest of this team, Rashard Matthew has seen 18 targets this year, leading the team by far.
Okay.
And the Dolphins struggle to limit production to the number 1 wide receiver, yet we have just told everyone to sit Rashard Matthews.
Yes.
That is how much of a difference Marcus Mariota makes in this offense. It also highlights how bad Matt Castle is.
Yeah, Matt Castle equals bad.
He's not good.
Yeah, it's official that Jack Doyle, some of the other injuries that are
we're
coming
starting to
out,
get some
Jack
confirmation on
Doyle
these
is officially not playing. We talked about that a little bit earlier. So there's a lot of injuries going on. And this next matchup,
Well,
the
hold on.
Chargers
I got some two Dolphin guys I want to get to.
Okay,
really
go
quickly.
ahead.
Because we talked about Cutler, we talked about Ajayi.
Yeah. Who do you like?
Devontae Parker has gotten at least 8 targets in every game this season. So
Okay.
I'll use Jamie's word. It's a volume play. All right, he's going to get those targets every week. Jarvis Landry still leads the team with 33 total targets. There has been a top 12 wide receiver against the Titans every week this season. I think Parker's a really good candidate for that. I also think Landry may be a good candidate for that. I like playing both of those guys with confidence this week.
Miami definitely overall takes a step up in your book this week now that you know that Marcus Mariota is not going to play. They're going to be on the field a lot. This Tennessee defense has struggled already with Marcus Mariota out there, so this is going to be a bad week for them.
Jay Cutler.
Crush of the week, Jay Cutler. I'm just telling you right now, if Cutler can't get it done today,
I will come in here and tell everyone to drop Jay Cutler. Because if this is not,
I'm going to play that back next week.
You can absolutely play it back because if just like we said with Cam Newton last week, that was the game for Cam. And if he didn't do it then you needed to jump off the ship. I think this is the case with Jay Cutler. If he does not produce against this defense, I think it's over. It's over for him.
All right, another injury. I know some people, Jake Arians giving him a shout out. He plays in a league where you play specific defensive players, and I know there's a lot, which is crazy.
It's fun.
But I know that there's a lot of people that do that. Olivier Vernon, this next matchup, the Chargers and the Giants, is not playing. He's officially ruled out as well, and I know he's one of those guys that in those fantasy leagues, a lot of people are playing him. So he is out defensively.
If you had Myles Garrett. If you drafted Myles Garrett, he is officially active.
Yeah, he's playing the number 1 overall draft pick from the 2017 draft. But let's start with the Chargers. So, the Chargers, it's been rough. It's been really rough for this team. It's been rough for both these teams. I predicted that this game would end in a tie and that neither team would get a victory because that's how this has been going for both of these teams thus far. So let's start with Phillip Rivers in this offense. What do you like?
All right, I got a question for both of you.
Okay.
Since week 15 of the 2015 season, how many quarterbacks have thrown for 3 touchdowns against the Giants?
I'm going to go with 0 because that's where it seems like it's leaning towards.
1.
It is. It's 1. You know who it was? It was Jameis Winston last week. That's it.
Wow.
That is the first time since week 15 of 2015. Not a misprint, not a typo. 2015.
Yeah, that's a long time.
That's over a whole season.
Yeah, that's a long time.
That the Giants have not allowed a 3-touchdown passer until Jameis Winston last week.
That's crazy.
What does Jameis Winston do that Phillip Rivers can't do? He can extend plays. He can run the ball. That's a part of his game that makes him better. And you saw that for him in the game against New England. So with Phillip Rivers, you don't have that. I think Phillip Rivers is a QB2 play this week in a 2-quarterback league. But other than that, I think I'm staying away from him.
Yeah, I agree completely. And again, this is another case of West Coast team going to East Coast for an early start time. And I can't say I look at this Chargers offense or anybody on this offense and say, oh yeah, I'm very confident starting them this week. And Rivers hasn't been good. The matchup isn't good. The situation around the team traveling isn't good. This screams 0-5 start to me.
Yeah, this is not very good offensively.
I also don't love the matchup for Eli. Even though I like the matchup for
Yeah.
the position players, I don't like the matchup for Eli. I don't think he's a 16-team option this week.
No.
This Chargers team has shown they can get after Carson Wentz. They can get after Alex Smith. They can get after Trevor Siemian. They've done that. That offensive line needs to show something. So I think Eli's going to struggle, and I think where you're going to see that is in the turnover numbers.
Okay.
But I do think some of the other position players will have big games.
Odell Beckham Jr., Brandon Marshall,
Sterling Shepard, Wayne Gallman is a guy that I'm high on this week. But other than that, I think Eli's going to struggle this week.
How about your boy Evan Ingram?
Ooh, this is okay.
How about your boy? Yeah, this. I knew because I knew. Your nickname's Hype Train.
Yeah,
For all of you that don't know, Chris's nickname is Hype Train.
This is what I do.
He buys into all the hype.
I actually have it written down here. I'm going to read it word for word what I have on the document here. This is Evan Ingram's world, and we're all just living it.
Oh God!
Okay?
Here we go.
This guy has been incredible. He's been the number 1 tight end in this offense. Has been the beginning. He has 30 targets this year.
I would hope that he would be the number 1 guy since they drafted him so high.
No other Giant tight end has even close to 5. What's more telling is the 11 targets last season that he got, even with Odell Beckham Jr., with Sterling Shepard, with Brandon Marshall. He has double-digit targets. Now, he has to turn them into catches and turn them into touchdowns, but he's getting that attention. The Chargers, they are one of the worst matchup for tight ends. They do a very nice job of limiting the tight end. They haven't allowed opposing tight end to score a touchdown this year. So this may be a bad week for Evan Ingram, but overall, everyone needs to buy in on Evan Ingram.
Everyone needs to
buy in on Evan Ingram.
Just be like Hype Train.
Yep, just buy in.
And buy into everybody because that's what Chris
Can I be
does.
anti-Hype Train for a second?
Yes, you sure
Melvin
can.
Gordon owners, maybe time to panic for you.
Yeah.
Okay, why are we hitting the panic button?
No. We're not hitting it. We are slamming the panic
down
button
on the
for
panic
Melvin
button.
Gordon.
Yeah, I have Melvin Gordon, and he is riding the old pine.
Yeah,
lately.
22 yards on 10 carries last week. He has also failed to rush for 25 yards in 2 of the 4 games this season. In half of the games that Melvin Gordon has played, he hasn't eclipsed the 25-yard mark.
That's
That's
not good.
a first-round running back
good.
that's not putting up even close to fifth-round running back numbers. Okay?
Yeah, he was predicted ahead of the season. I looked this up before the show. He was projected anywhere. His high end was 2 fantasy running back, and his low was 5. That is awful. It is awful when you're talking about projections.
Now you may be able to play him this week and give him one more chance for your team because the Giants have allowed each team this year to total.
So after we told you to destroy the panic button.
No, you're hitting the panic button because if he doesn't do anything this week, I think you need to look elsewhere.
He's on notice.
He's on notice.
Okay.
The Giants have allowed each team to get 99 total yards on the ground, and that's in part because they're giving up close to 27 yards a carry on the ground.
Yikes.
So this is the week. If he doesn't break through and have at least a game where you can be like, okay, I can see him getting better, then you have to look elsewhere. Melvin Gordon is on notice, and he could very quickly be off the team.
All right, we're getting into this next matchup, the Jaguars and the Steelers. The Steelers at home, a completely different fantasy football option. They did go on the road and beat Baltimore last week, but Ben Roethlisberger is a QB 18 right now in total points. That's the lowest ever in his career as a fantasy player. Now, he does average 7 more points at home as a fantasy football player than he does on the road, which is good because they're back home. Le'Veon Bell got going last week. Antonio Brown showing some frustration on the sidelines last week. So there's Antonio Brown owners are a little angry because they're trying to figure out, I drafted this guy probably top 3 overall, and he's not getting top 3 overall production.
So this kind of feels like the week where they throw the ball to him every other play, right?
Yep.
This is he throws a big commotion on the sidelines. Everybody's what's wrong with the offense? What's wrong with Antonio Brown? Is there friction in Pittsburgh? And they throw to him and he has 15 catches. I'm not worried about Brown at all. I think he's going to have a monster game this week, specifically to kind of quell that narrative that has popped up in the last 6 days.
So the narrative around this team is that they can't play well on the road.
Because they can't.
And it's because they can't. But the other thing is that they play better at home. And everyone's be like, oh, they're fine. They're playing at home against Jacksonville. This is not a good matchup for Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're going to be fine, but Jacksonville is the highest sack percentage, their sack rate in the league at 12.9. The next closest team's at 9.7, and the next closest team is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. I do think they have a good game, but this Jacksonville defense could create a little bit of trouble, so it's not as easy as, oh, Ben Roethlisberger's home, he's fine. This matchup isn't that great.
This isn't a great matchup for them. This isn't a great matchup for them.
Against pressure this season, Big Ben, 17 of 32, 173 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. So we know he's going to face the pressure because Jacksonville brings the house. Those are his numbers against pressure this season. Are you okay with that as a fantasy owner?
How about a guy like Martavis Bryant? Because there's he's kind of the boomer bust type of guy, but he has played well at home. Is this a week where you go, okay, just because of what the production that he's had at home traditionally, you're playing him, you're shaking your head no,
nope.
So I'm guessing it's no.
I got a new guy.
You got a new guy?
Got a new guy.
I got a new guy. Because, look, tell me who the Jacksonville corners are.
Jalen Ramsey.
Jalen Ramsey is a crush of the week every week.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, crush of your life.
Crush of your life. Man
and
crush.
AJ Boye.
Man crush.
Also, who would be like if Jalen Ramsey wasn't around, would also be your crush.
Yes. Who are they going to be matched up against?
Martavis Bryant and Antonio Brown.
So who's left?
These two are having a man crush segment where they're just like talking to each other. And I'm just over here
some guy from USC.
Yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster. Get on the bandwagon.
You feeling the Juju?
Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm feeling the Juju.
I don't know if you guys saw his cleats that he was wearing, but they're fire. Yeah. And anybody who watched Dragon Ball Z loves what he's wearing.
And
he's probably going to have like 3 touchdowns.
Touchdown celebration.
It's true.
Oh, it's happening.
I just think this cornerback matchup is not good for Brown and Bryant. They're going to get theirs because they're Antonio Brown
and you start Antonio
Brown will get his. I'm not convinced about Bryant.
But if you look around this team, there's going to need to be somebody else. I don't like Jesse James this week at all. And Vance McDonald is basically taking over in that offense, and he's Vance McDonald. Juju Smith-Schuster has basically become a starter in this offense. He's out there every week. It's not a case where he had one good game and he's kind of gone away. He's out there, he's catching passes, he's involved in the offense. This is a guy, I don't know if you pick him up and play him this week, but you pick him up and keep an eye on him. This is what I do every week. I pick a guy and I'm like, hey, keep an eye on this guy. It's Juju Smith-Schuster this week.
All right, let's talk about Leonard Fournette here, because I know we got a graphic, and I know Chris wants to talk about Leonard Fournette.
We do.
And so let's talk about him.
And if we know one thing about me, it's I love Leonard Fournette.
You're a hype train. This goes back to the hype train.
Look at that stat.
Chris loves everybody.
He sees 8 or more defenders in the box more than half of the time. That is the second highest mark in the league. Why does he see that many defenders in the box? Why is the box so loaded against him? Because Blake Bortles is their quarterback.
He's garbage.
And everyone knows he cannot throw. So they stack the box and they say, Blake Bortles, you beat us. And that has not happened yet in Blake Bortles' career. So Leonard Fournette, you're going to play him because he's good enough to put up that production. But when that box gets loaded, and it's going to be loaded at least half the time, it's going to be tough for him to have that big play. It is going to be a grind to him to get to 90, 100 yards. It is going to probably take well into the fourth quarter for him to get there. He may not have that big play that he is able to produce.
He might be the only startable player on Jacksonville's offense.
100%.
Mercedes Lewis turned back into a pumpkin.
Yeah, shocking.
I mean, he had a good game, and then all of a sudden it went away.
It's October, so pumpkin time.
So that's not a thing.
You're not starting Bortles.
Marquise Lee is going to get Artie Burns in coverage. Burns has been really good in coverage this year, 61 yards on 21 targets in coverage. Whoever's matched up against Joe Hayden might be a good play. I mean, Joe Hayden's been very bad this year.
For 4 years now.
A team high 181 yards he's given up this year. So I don't know who's going to be matched up against him, but whoever it is, I think they'll have a good game.
All right, we got a couple of inactives in that game. So TJ Yeldon's not playing, Jalen Strong's not playing. There are a couple of other offensive. They're 2 offensive tackles and 2 offensive linemen that are not starting for Jacksonville. What does that mean?
Oh man.
It's not going to be good. Not going to be very good. Not going to be very good for Blake Bortles.
You can't sit Fournette.
No, you can't. You don't love it.
You're not happy about it.
But you're not really happy. But we got 2 questions here we're going to get to. So let's go to Terry.
I just love these questions.
AZ Sports Nut 1. He said, "Do I play Adams today?" As in Devontae Adams, Crabtree, Macklin, and Shepard on his bench. And he needs 2 starters, and he's also saying Devin Funchess is available. So what are you guys thinking
here?
Give
me those names again.
Okay, so Devontae Adams. Crabtree. Macklin. Shepard. And Funchess is available.
I think Shepard's in.
Yes.
I think Shepard's a lock. I'm not touching the Oakland receivers. That's our next matchup, too. We're not touching those receivers. I know you love Crabtree, but E.J. Manuel's starting the football.
That's
out.
And he's still banged up.
Devontae Adams, even if he does play, what can you realistically expect from him?
I almost want to tell him.
Devin Funchess?
I think Funchess. He's being used more in the offense. To Chris's credit, if you listened to him last week in DFS and stacked Cam Newton, Devin Funchess, you probably were very, very happy.
That worked out pretty well, yeah.
Probably were very, very happy.
Yeah, I'm answering these questions. So I just tweeted back at my boy Terry. I'm feeling like, for sure, Devontae Adams, I don't know if you were watching that football game, but it's amazing that he's playing in this football, if he does play.
Yeah, and he's not playing. He's traveled with the team.
Yeah, he traveled with the team, and it's not even official yet. So let's just calm down there with the Adams stuff. So Crabtree, we're going to get into that right now after we get to one of these other questions. I'm not starting anybody from Oakland offensively because I'm just not sure what E.J. Manuel's going to do. So I'm for sure, I just tweeted back at you, but we're staying away from Macklin. We're staying away from Crabtree. We're staying away from Adams. And Funchess, I can't believe he's available. That's a great pickup.
He scored 2 touchdowns this week.
Yeah,
How's he
so
available?
you pick up Funchess and you play Shepard this week, and you just got to feel good about that.
Yeah, you just got to hope on those 2 guys, and I think they'll have good games.
All right, we got another question here from Michael on Twitter, and he wants to know, should I start Big Ben at home against the Jaguars, which we just talked about, or Alex Smith at Houston in a PPR league? This is a tough one for me.
I think it's Big Ben.
I think you have.
Yeah,
I think you have to.
I think it's Big Ben at home.
Houston's defense is real.
Houston's secondary is not that great, though. I will say if there's a flaw in that defense, it's the secondary. But Big Ben at home, the truth is in the pudding. I mean, the numbers are there.
Yeah. Oh,
he plays better at home. 7
more points. That's a lot of fantasy football.
He plays better
That's
at
a touchdown.
home.
He's a touchdown more at home.
And as much as we talked about this Jacksonville defense and their ability to pressure the quarterback, Big Ben's a veteran. He knows how to handle that stuff. They worked on it all week. I'm not concerned about it. Not to say Alex Smith's going to have a bad game per se, but I just trust Big Ben at home.
Also, if we look at it, who is more likely to have a huge game?
I think it's Big Ben.
It's Ben Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. All right, we got one more here. This one comes from Ramona on Twitter, and she wants one guy in a PPR flex spot, Amir Abdullah, Frank Gore, or Will Fuller. I know where I'm going, but I'll let you guys answer first.
It's definitely not Frank Gore.
It's definitely not Frank Gore. And I'm not playing Amir Abdullah. I'm probably going Will Fuller.
Yeah, Fuller's for real, and he's not just a deep threat. Don't let that let that fool you that all he does is run 9 routes down the field. he is an all-around wide receiver, and he is going to be have a featured role in that offense all season.
He can move the chains. He can catch those passes 5 to 15 yards. He doesn't need to catch the deep ball. He's going to be used in that offense. And it's going to help Deshaun Watson to have another target like that. He's going to want to get Fuller involved. In the first week back from Fuller, after a broken collarbone, he caught a touchdown. I mean, he was involved right away. So I have no concerns about in a PPR league him getting touches.
Yeah, and they put up 57 points last week. So
against that Tennessee defense.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's get into this Ravens-Raiders game. We just had a couple of questions.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we do have to. E.J. Manuel is officially starting this game. If you have Derek Carr, he's going to be out somewhere between 2 to 6 weeks, and that could potentially be the end of your fantasy football season if he's out for 6 weeks, because you got to go out and get somebody else. And please, please, please don't make that guy E.J. Manuel, because this is not going to be pretty. Overall, offensively, Marshawn Lynch has been a huge disappointment. Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, these guys, none of them in this game I feel comfortable with. The only guy I feel comfortable with is Cook. It's the only guy I feel comfortable with in this game because he's the tight end, and this is probably Marshawn Lynch's you're on notice, and if you don't do something in this game, you're probably sitting him down, because they're going to go to him and probably say, hey, dude, we need you to be the back this week, because E.J. Manuel is not going to be able to get the ball into Michael Crabtree and Amari Cooper's hands.
Well, it'll fall right through Amari Cooper's hands the way that he's playing lately.
That's true.
Yeah, and when you have a backup quarterback or a young quarterback, the tight end is always the place we look, and Cook already had a big role in this offense when Derek Carr was there. Derek Carr tried to work his way into this game this week.
He sure did.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he plays next week. He is trying very hard to get himself back into this lineup. So I think if you're a Derek Carr owner, don't panic just yet, because he is working very hard to try to get himself back on this team.
For sure, but it is a back injury.
Yes.
So let's make sure that you have somebody that you feel confident in to go 6 weeks. I always play the worst case scenario, because I would rather go out there, make a trade, get a quarterback, because if he does end up sitting for 6 weeks and you don't have a legit quarterback, your fantasy football season is over.
And even when he does come back, you want to keep that second quarterback on your roster.
Absolutely.
Back injuries linger. Ask Tony Romo.
Yeah, and he hasn't looked very good in the last week that he played anyways. All right, we're also going to talk about here the defense, because this is the only thing that I feel confident starting other than Jared Cook. The reason I feel confident starting Oakland's defense is because Joe Flacco is second in the NFL in interceptions. He's thrown 6, and he's been sacked 8 times in the last 3 games. What does that mean? That means a lot of fantasy points for Oakland Raiders defense, and I'm just not convinced that this Ravens team is going to go on the road and do much offensively, because they just haven't been able to.
Paige, it also means our fantasy team this week for our podcast league's in a lot of trouble, because we have Marcus Mariota and Joe Flacco as our backup, and that's what we're going with.
This is a lesson to me.
Don't let me do anything.
I'm just going to get real with everybody. This is a lesson that I should never trust Chris to do anything.
Draft.
Because I shouldn't let him draft. I shouldn't let him do start and sit. I shouldn't let him be in charge, because this would never have happened if I was
Now, we are
in
2-2 in that league. We're not doing that bad. So.
That's only because the positivity that I brought to the league.
Well, we have Joe Flacco this week, so we're going to need a lot of positivity.
So you'll be 2-3.
Yeah,
it's not going to be good. Anybody else on the Ravens, guys? This game, I'm pretty much staying away. I'm starting both defenses
you can
this
play the
week.
Ravens defense.
You feel good about both defenses just because I don't think you're going to be able to score a lot of points. And you play Oakland's defense because of the upside of being able to score points with interceptions and sacks. That's pretty much it at this point. All right, Seahawks and Rams. I know that, Chris, you put a stat in here at some point from ESPN Stats and Info, and we'll get into that he wants to talk about. But this is a Rams offense that is averaging 35 points per game. It's the most in the league. What does that mean? You feel really good about their offense in fantasy football. Todd Gurley is having an unbelievable bounce-back season. He is a must-start every single week in and week out. So I don't need to tell you to start Todd Gurley. Or hopefully I don't have to tell you to start Todd Gurley.
Don't overthink this. I don't care if it's a Seahawks defense. You're starting Todd Gurley.
Yeah, you're starting. And not only that, but the Seahawks have been very poor against the run through the first 5 weeks of the season. So you can't overthink Todd Gurley. They're also away from Seattle. They don't play as good away from Seattle. So the question mark here is the Cooper Kupp, Sammy Watkins thing. Because if you paid attention in fantasy football, it's kind of been one or the other on a week in, week out basis. So because of the fact that there's bye weeks, I kind of feel like they're both startable this week, because you kind of have to take that chance.
Yeah, I mean, we're at a point where your teams are on bye weeks, and look, for example, Atlanta's on a bye week this week, and you're not able to play Julio Jones. The Saints are. I think I'm playing every offensive skill. This is a PSA to all Rams offensive player fantasy owners. Last year, points per game for the Rams, last. Offensive efficiency, last. Yards per play, last.
I sense a theme
Is
here.
that bad?
That is not good.
Okay.
This year, 2017, points per game, first. Offensive efficiency, third. Yards per play, second. The Sean McVay magic is working on this offense. They are playing
He's a
well.
magician.
They are firing on all cylinders. Even Jared Goff looks good, and I can't believe I'm saying that. I play everyone in this matchup with confidence. Sean McVay has this team just gelling right now.
Here's a stat for you. Jared Goff is the only quarterback in the league that has thrown a touchdown in every game that he's played in thus far. He's combined for 5 over his last 2 games, and he has thrown for over 250 yards in 3 of the 4 games that he's played in.
Playing
Just
well.
as we all predicted in the preseason.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
just
true.
like I said, pick up Jared Goff. I totally said that he was
we
going
were
to
all
be a
on that
great.
bandwagon.
I definitely said that.
Yeah.
I did not say that. All right, Seahawks. Russell Wilson. Here's another one for you. He is the QB3 overall in PPR standard scoring in ESPN. This is good for him because this offensive line is so bad. And they started off the season and you were really worried about a guy like Russell Wilson. He's really balled out over the last couple of weeks and got himself into that conversation of the elite fantasy football quarterback that he is. The question mark here is the running backs. Pete Carroll said this much. He said that they're going to split time between Eddie Lacy, who we all know how I feel about, and Thomas Rawls.
Yeah, we don't want to
2 guys they both hate. They hate
Two
both of
guys
them.
they both hate. So guys, do we feel comfortable starting either one of these running backs?
No.
Because I sure don't.
The guy that you like, McKissick.
If I have to start a Seattle running back, I'm going to start J.D. McKissick and hope that I get the high upside play in the passing game. Maybe if you dirt cheap in DFS, if you want a high upside flex play there.
Okay.
I'm not playing Rawls. I'm not playing Eddie Lacy. I haven't seen anything from them this year or anything from Eddie Lacy in the last 2.5 years to tell me that they're ready to be prominent fantasy football
So the
players.
Rams, this is something to pay attention to, and this is why I've been getting a lot of questions about these guys. The Rams are last against the run. They've been giving up the most points for rushing. But the thing here is you don't know which guy is going to be the guy. And I don't want to take a gamble on guessing here because Pete Carroll doesn't even know yet. And I kind of feel like if you start Lacy, it's probably going to be Thomas Rawls. And if you start Rawls, it's probably going to be Eddie Lacy. So I just stay away from this backfield. It's much like New England. I'm not trying to play a guessing game. I'm trying to make sure that I know that the guy's going to get a lot of touches.
Agreed. It's just a weird matchup, and none of the guys have shown. Even if there was a guy that showed that he was good, I still don't like it because they're just splitting carries.
Yeah,
I'm splitting the time.
Doug Baldwin, Jimmy Graham, Tyler Lockett, and Paul Richardson, both with 22 and 20 targets over the last 2 games. So they're getting a lot of targets. So pretty much everyone offensively, other than the running backs, I'm playing for Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I feel most comfortable. What's your ESPN stats and info?
That was my graphic about the Sean McVay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Their
I like
efficiency, turning it around.
Efficiency.
Yeah,
All
Sean
right.
McVay, Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year. Wow. That's,
right now it's clear.
He's
Clear as day.
if he's not the
for
Coach
sure.
of the Year, don't vote for it anymore. Don't give out the award.
Well, it is early.
Yeah,
it's
but
only
he
5
has
weeks
to be
in,
the
so
leader
we'll
in the
see.
clubhouse
He's gonna have to keep that up. All right, the Packers and the Cowboys going at it. This is a game. These teams meet up in the playoffs a lot. These teams have met up traditionally a lot between these two. Last year, in 2 games against the Packers as a rookie, Prescott threw for 549 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Those are pretty good numbers for a rookie. So let's talk about Dak Prescott for just a second. Do you guys like him in this matchup against a pretty banged up and a pretty mediocre Packers defense?
The Packers defense is not good.
No.
Everyone needs to
They
stop
weren't good
trying to-
before they got
I
injured.
know, but people are trying to make them a thing.
That's because
Are they though?
Yeah, they are. They were. At the beginning of the
a
season,
mistake.
they were trying to make the Green Bay Packers defense a thing, and it's not. They're not good.
Their best cornerback isn't very good and walked out on his team with minutes to go in the game.
Yeah.
They have one linebacker that's worth talking about. This is not a good defense at all. And as Paige pointed out earlier, Dak Prescott had plenty of success against them last year. I don't see any reason why he can't duplicate that today.
Yeah, he's 150 is totaled 157 and 125 rushing yards. So 2 games over 100 yards, a touchdown in each of those games. You feel really good about starting Ezekiel Elliott. You should be starting him every week anyways. The one I want to get into here is the running back situation for Green Bay because Ty Montgomery looks like he's not going to play. I can't imagine that he's going to play. And I know that something that you said was a doctor said that this looks like an injury that's going to linger a little bit longer.
I got some knowledge to drop here.
Okay, go ahead. Drop the knowledge,
Sean
Chris.
Lee has been ruled out of this game.
Oh, big loss for
the Dallas Cowboys.
Big loss.
That impacts the running game for Green
sure.
Bay. They are going to be able to have more success running the football today. Now, the question that we're going to try to answer here, is which one of their running backs is going to be the guy that gets the most carries, because I don't know.
So here's what I listened to Mike McCarthy's press conference, and his praise and Aaron Rodgers' praise of Aaron Jones, the rookie, was very high. I think he's going to be the number one overall guy here. I think that Williams is going to get some touches. I don't think that it's going to be all Aaron Jones, but I do think that he is going to be the featured back here. And if Sean Lee is not playing, Aaron Jones is a guy that you probably picked up. I put him in a flex spot, and if he ends up having a pretty decent game and scores you a touchdown, that's a huge upside play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think Aaron Jones is the back you want. Even though Jamal Williams is a little bit better in pass protection, I'm not convinced he's going to play the full amount of snaps if he is active. You got to take a chance on Aaron Jones, and I think if you have both of them, it's Jones. If you only have one, I'm sitting Williams and I'm playing Jones.
All right, guys, we got a couple of questions here. So let's get into these questions. This one comes from Update Cards on Twitter, and he wants to know, for running backs, are we starting DeMarco Murray or Lamar Miller this week?
Oh, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, these are two
good.
That's
a very good problem to have.
I mean, I would probably start both of those guys depending on, but
What's
he's
your other
asking
option?
one or
the other.
He's asking one or the other. So
DeMarco Murray.
I'm going to go Lamar Miller.
Yeah, I'm going to go Lamar Miller as well.
I do have concerns about Tennessee's offense and without Mariota, so I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I'll take DeMarco Murray in that Tennessee offense that needs to run the ball more because, again, Matt Cass
might be a situation where you only have one running back in a flex or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna get an update from him on that one. This one comes from Danny Johnson 04 on Twitter, and he wants to know Golden Tate or Keenan Allen.
I mean, Keenan Allen's getting the targets, but boy, do I not like anything about the Chargers offense today.
Well, it's just going to really depend.
I'm going to play Golden Tate. I can't. That Chargers offense, ugh.
Well, to me, the Chargers offense, and there's a guy that I don't know if we mentioned earlier, Travis Benjamin and Tyrell Williams are the guys I like in that offense more because Keenan Allen's going to get Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie in coverage. And one of those other guys, and it may be split over the course of the game, is going to get Eli Apple on them. And Eli Apple is not good.
No, he's been bad.
He has given
really
up 4
bad.
touchdowns.
He might be the worst Eli on the Giants.
Oh, wow.
You think he's worse than Eli Manning?
This year? Okay. I
That's
have a stat to fill the pause
All right,
here.
there you go.
Panthers have allowed 5 touchdowns to wide receivers in their last 2 games.
Thank
Marvin
you.
Jones has only 8 catches
Tate.
this year. You're starting Golden Tate.
No, yeah, I think Tate's the play, but Keenan Allen, I think, is going to have a tough matchup this week with Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie on him. So I'll go with everybody else.
I'm getting back to this guy because I'm interested to see why he's not starting DeMarco Murray and Lamar Miller.
Yeah,
I want to know
I'm very curious. It's the question of the day.
Yeah.
who is the other running back. Dear Update Cards, I need more information on your
we need
what's going
some
on with your
context
fantasy
here.
team. So we need some context. But let's get into the Chiefs and Texans game. I got some stats on my boy Alex Smith.
Oh, your boy, Alex Smith.
He's
That
my
was your
boy now.
Okay.
He's my boy. Alex Smith has 3 top 10 fantasy performances in the first 4 weeks and currently sits as the overall QB2. Raise your hand. Guys, let's go to the crowd here.
Okay.
Raise your hand if you thought that Alex Smith was going to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback this year.
Nope.
Live look at us being wrong and everybody else in the NFL being wrong because nobody had Alex Smith projected to be anywhere near the quarterback 2 position for fantasy football. A lot of this has to do with the fact that this Chiefs overall team is just firing on all cylinders. Rookie Kareem Hunt is a must start. Alex Smith is a must start. Tyreek Hill leads the Chiefs wide receivers in targets. You're starting him. You're starting Travis Kelce. I don't know what else to say here. This is an across the board starting everybody. You're starting the Chiefs defense. So, I mean, that's where I am with this matchup. I don't know what else to say other than start because you have to believe in the guys. If you played over a quarter of the season, 4 games, and they've proven to you that they are a very good football team, you have to start your guys. This isn't where you try and get cute.
I think you're playing everyone on the Houston side, too.
Yeah,
I think you're playing everybody.
This is the opposite of Baltimore, Oakland. You're playing every skill position, every quarterback player on these teams. They have 2 good defenses, so it's just a weird thing to say that about the players, but the offenses have been clicking so well. And look, we might look up and this ends up being a 13-10 game, and we're going to we should have known considering the 2 defenses. But going in, there's no reason to bench any skill position player on either of these 2 teams.
This is the only thing that you might bench, and this goes against what you usually do starting the Houston Texans defense. But this is the stat. Defenses have averaged just 3.5 fantasy points against Andy Reid's offense this year. What does that mean?
Chiefs are good.
The Chiefs are really
That's what it
good.
means.
And that although I like Houston's defense, this is probably one of those weeks where you can go stream another team that has, we were talking about that Ravens matchup. Some of these higher upside because they turn the ball over, they throw interceptions. That's not what this Chiefs offense. They haven't been giving away turnovers. They haven't been throwing away the ball. So that's how you score points, and I just don't see that happening in this matchup.
Nope. Play everybody.
Play everybody.
Play everybody.
Okay. Play everybody. That's all we got for that matchup. That's a good matchup.
Are we really going to do this matchup, this next one? Because I'm going to leave if we are, because you're just going to take over the show. So I'm just going to leave now.
No, because I mean, you were a hype train ahead of the season, so you really like Dalvin Cook, who's now out for the season.
This is your guy.
Okay, so no, let's talk about Latavius Murray. Is he a legitimate? He is a guy who's had a 1,000-yard rushing season before.
Yes, he has.
He's in an offense that's starting Case Keenum, and they need him to be a featured back here. So Latavius Murray is a guy that you probably went out and got. He's only owned in 65% of leagues still, and I think that's ridiculous because you know that he's going to be the featured back now. What do you guys think about Latavius Murray?
I will say this, and I will say this exactly. Every running back that's starting in the NFL has value in fantasy. That is as far as I will go about with Latavius Murray.
Yeah, I mean
that's all I will say.
Yeah.
He's not an elite talent, but the Vikings running backs back to when Adrian Peterson got hurt, and they did a combination of Matt Asiata and Jerick McKinnon. Had some value. He will have value. He is a flex player every week, but don't expect him to be spectacular.
Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen are first and third in reception yards, respectively. I know that Case Keenum's the quarterback, but I'm still starting both of these guys. Kyle Rudolph, a guy that I know, Jamie, you're sitting in this week.
Sat him down
for Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
He's averaging just 3.75 targets and 25 yards per game, so that's not very good. That's not very good. That means you could go out and find yourself a different tight end that you feel more comfortable starting. So he's the guy that I'm sitting. I'm starting Stephon Diggs. I'm starting Adam Thielen. I am definitely not starting Case Keenum. And Latavius Murray's a start for me.
Is Sam Bradford going to play this week?
It's a maybe, but you can't wait for Monday Night Football.
And is he going to be 100%?
No, yeah, I know. He's gotten all the first-team reps this week, and that's a good sign for Bradford owners moving forward. But
Chris, nobody is talking about the quarterback on that side of the field.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
All right.
This
so
is
let's
what I was saying. I'm just going to leave now.
We got a live update here from my boy Update Cards.
Okay.
LaShawn McCoy is my number one running back. So that's why he's asking.
Start him.
You always start Shady, so that's why he's asking Murray or Miller.
I'm taking DeMarco Murray.
He's also starting Deshaun Jackson he started Deshaun Jackson at the flex.
Okay.
I wouldn't have started him. I would have started all three running backs. But it is a PPR league. All right. Here is the moment we've all been waiting for. It is now Mitch Trubisky time in Chicago. Everybody is excited. From a fantasy perspective, good Lord, I am not excited about this at all. As a Chicago sports fan, I'm very excited about watching Mitch Trubisky. I got a lot of questions. I think they were all from people that are in Chicago. There were probably half of my high school buddies sending in these questions about Mitch Trubisky. And this is a big hell no. I'm definitely not starting a rookie quarterback in his first ever game
against a good defense.
Against a really good defense.
On Monday Night Football.
Bad Chris is just saying everything I was going to say
a
half of a second earlier. But yeah, I'm definitely not starting Mitch Trubisky. I'm Team Mitch. All right, because Mike Glennon is definitely the worst quarterback I've ever watched playing football games. And Mitch Trubisky, love him, but you're not starting him in fantasy football leagues. So Periscope, I'm talking to you. Camera, I'm talking to you. Do not start Mitch Trubisky. Love you, my Chicago fans, and love the enthusiasm. But for the love of God, do not start him in a fantasy football league. It's just a bad decision. But let's talk about Jordan Howard, Tariq Cohen, some of these other guys. Jordan Howard's been an RB1 throughout the season. Tariq Cohen, who a lot of people like, myself included, has a lot of high upside. Last week he only had 10 targets, but I think that's because the Packers just absolutely destroyed the Bears and were ahead very early because Mike Glennon doesn't know how to play quarterback. So Tariq Cohen I do like again this week. I'm starting him in a flex position. How about you guys?
Yeah, this Vikings defense is very good, and it's going to create some problems for a young quarterback in an offense that's really going to keep it very simple this week. I mean, it's going to be basic. It's going to be ABC football. They're going to try to run the ball a lot, so you like that if you have Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen. The running game is going to be a major factor. But the Vikings defense is not something that you look at and you go, oh, we're just going to score a ton of fantasy points.
No, I think both backs have a decent game, especially in PPR leagues. But no, I don't think any Bears offensive player is going to be spectacular or carry your team this week.
No, the only guy I kind of feel good about, and that's only because I play in a PPR league, is Zach Miller, the tight end, because traditionally for quarterbacks, especially rookies, rookies. They check down. They're going to go to the tight end. They feel more comfortable with these guys. So overall, for Chicago's side of the ball, that's what I see. But please don't start Mitch Trubisky. That's like 7 questions in a row that I've got about Mitchie, and that has to be all from people from Chicago, because I don't think that anybody else is thinking about starting Mitch Trubisky.
I mean, Trubisky may be fine in a couple of weeks, but you know, Monday Night Football, his first start against a good defense, you just add it all up, and I don't like it.
There are better quarterbacks out there.
Yeah, there's better options for this week. They really are.
So defenses facing Case Keenum have finished as a defensive 4, a defensive 30, and a defensive 7. So
one of these things
two top 10 performances.
Doesn't belong here.
Well, yeah, they're the one week we turned into Joe Montana.
Yeah, that's the outlier. So that's where the Bears at home have been pretty good. They faced the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Atlanta Falcons, and they finished top 10 in defense. You feel pretty good probably about starting them here, because this Minnesota Vikings offense isn't exactly like a juggernaut, I wouldn't say, with Case Keenum. So that's the only Bears streaming option. In a 16-team league, you're definitely starting the Bears defense this week, just because that outlier of a defensive 30 performance was not true. Case Keenum is not Joe Montana.
No.
You guys would agree with that?
Yes, I can say that with a lot of confidence.
All right, let's get into a couple more questions here, guys. Hey, this is my boy Super Mario. Hey, Mario.
Mario again.
Mario again. He's always tweeting out the questions. Saw him at the old D-backs game on last week. He wants to know who to start at the flex, Frank Gore or Joe Mixon.
This is easy. If any question involves Frank Gore, it's the other player.
And again, as I like to use my flex position as a high upside option, Frank Gore is a low upside option. Joe Mixon has the potential to break out. It's got to be Mixon.
Yeah.
It's Joe Mixon.
So 120%.
Yeah, I don't even. Once you said Frank Gore, you could have said somebody that was injured. I was taking the injured player over Frank Gore.
I love it.
Frank Gore has been very bad this year.
How do you feel about Frank Gore?
Well, I'll use Jamie's expression. He needs to fall into the end zone to make it work.
Okay, who should we start in a flex in a standard league, Tariq Cohen or Wayne Gallman?
I'm going to go Tariq Cohen.
No.
I like the high upside play
too.
there. I think he's going to get more work this week. I know Gallman was decent last week,
there's
but
like
I need to see
4 other wide receivers ahead of him.
I need
that are
to see
get the
more.
ball.
I need to see more.
I will take Wayne Gallman coming out of the backfield. He's going to have a big game this week.
I like Tariq Cohen. We're moving on, and that's not because it's Chicago. We're moving on. Sorry, Chris.
We're moving on.
Yeah, I'll be the outlier. That's fine.
This one is coming from Josh on Twitter, and he wants to know if he should start Jordan Reed or Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis is like a time machine. He's going back in time and looks better every week. I really want to go to what Jamie wasn't. Jamie had a great reaction. So let's go to Jamie's reaction.
Jamie just looked down at the floor and he nothing.
I mean,
we need to help our boy Josh out here.
Vernon Davis.
Jordan Reed has more talent. Vernon Davis has just been better right now.
Yeah, I'll go Vernon Davis.
I should say talent now. Vernon Davis coming out of school was unbelievable talent. Going to start Vernon Davis now. I don't feel great about it. This is why I said don't draft Jordan Reed, because this is your life now. This is your life for the rest of the season. This is why you don't draft players.
Well, you could drop Jordan Reed and then you wouldn't have this problem.
No, just too much stress in your life to draft Jordan Reed.
All right, guys, let's go to Sandy here. She has a question, and she wants to know Devontae Adams, Devin Funchess, Sammy Watkins, and John Brown. She needs 2. She needs to start 2 in a PPR league. That's Devontae Adams, Devin Funchess, Sammy Watkins, and John Brown. Again, 2 in a PPR league. I'll let you guys answer
Funchess?
Funchess is the lock.
Do we take the high upside in Watkins?
That's what I'm doing. I'm taking high upside.
Watkins has had only one good week, which really scares me, but I'm going to take him in this scenario. I don't know what to expect from Devontae Adams. I don't think John Brown is going to be a featured player in the Cardinals offense this week.
Nope.
Watkins and Funchess?
Watkins and
lock and load?
Lock and load it, yep.
Lock and load. All right, I'm answering these questions live on the show.
Okay.
This is a lot of fun.
You keep firing away.
Yeah, keep firing away. All right, this one comes from Sheila on Twitter, and she wants to know Rashard Matthews or Jeremy Maclin also has Theo Riddick or Elijah McGuire.
Oh, that's the worst wide receiver decision you'd ever have to make.
Yikes. That's what my reaction is to that. Yikes.
It's got to be Jeremy Maclin. It can't be Rashard Matthews.
Well, no, it absolutely cannot be.
It's got to be Jeremy.
No, she said she had 2 other backs there. Is she using this as a flex?
Yeah, Theo Riddick. Yeah, this is a flex position.
So Theo Riddick or Elijah McGuire?
It's Theo Riddick.
Yeah, I think you have
Theo Riddick is what we're going to boil this down to.
I think you have to go with Theo Riddick, and I don't feel great about it.
So the person we tweeted back about Funchess and Watkins is already tweeting back at us. That's Sandy. She's like really on the ball, and she's got a lot of questions. So this is
we're
getting this is some good stuff.
I'm all about this.
Yeah. Is Ajayi in for a big day? Yes or no?
I don't think so.
Live to Jamie about how Jay Ajayi's day is going to go.
What do you think about Jay Ajayi?
He's simply just not being used in the offense that much, and that concerns me. And You might have to start him in your flex play, just your flex spot, depending on other players in your league. But just he's not being used in the offense. And I don't care how talented he has shown he can be. If he's not going to get the opportunity to put his talents on display, he's not going to get the opportunity to produce fantasy points.
All right, guys, we
What
got
he said.
what he said. PPR league. Do I bench Delaney Walker and add Hunter Henry to my lineup this week? To the guys.
Okay. So.
Hold on, I got a stat for this. Hold on. You go first.
Okay,
Amy.
bring the stats.
Yep, I'm going to get this stat up.
Okay.
You go ahead.
Bring the stats up. I hate Hunter Henry. That's a side
Somebody is
note.
going to have a big game. I just don't know who it's going to be. So I have to go safe here. It's surprising to say that with somebody that has Matt Castle throwing in the ball and go with Delaney Walker. But somebody on San Diego is going to have. So the Giants can't cover a tight end. So somebody on San Diego is going to have a big game. Or Los Angeles. Second week in a row I've done that. Second, Los Angeles Chargers are going to have a big game. I just don't know who it's going to be. I'd rather have Hunter than Gates, or Hunter Henry than Gates, but I don't feel great about it.
Yikes, spikes.
You're going to make me feel better about it?
Antonio Gates has seen targets in every game of the week this season. Through 4 games, there have been 2 separate occasions where Hunter Henry has not gotten a ball thrown his way. You cannot play Hunter Henry.
No.
You cannot play him because there is a chance that that offense will not include him. It's already happened twice this year where Gates has been consistently the guy, Henry has not. So yes, I hate playing Delaney Walker with Matt Castle throwing him the football, but Hunter Henry has Phillip Rivers throwing him the football, and it seems like an impossible task to even get that to happen.
Okay, moving on. We got another one here.
Delaney Walker.
This one, Delaney Walker in that one. This one comes from Keith on Twitter, and he wants to know if we should start Aaron Jones this week or Eddie Lacy. Keith.
Okay, yep. Thanks, Keith.
Keith, you follow me on Twitter, bud.
Yep.
So you should never ask about Eddie Lacy.
Bud, yeah, I like
ever. I'll let these guys answer because maybe they're a little bit unbiased, but yeah, I hate Eddie Lacy, so I'm starting Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
That was quick.
We're good.
Everybody knows not to start Eddie Lacy.
Eddie Lacy,
just stay away from that backfield. I just don't. You have to let, when you see teams, don't get cute when they're not showing you anything. You don't try and overthink
You'd be
things
like,
here.
oh, I'm going to be the guy that plays them this week.
Yeah,
and
no,
don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Do not be that fantasy owner.
Don't be cute. It's not funny. Okay, should I start Jerron Brown?
So savage.
Brandon Marshall, right to the point.
Poor Twitter followers.
Jerron Brown, Brandon Marshall. Okay.
Jerron Brown, Brandon Marshall, or Jermaine Kearse at a wide receiver 2 PPR league.
Jerron Brown. I think his role in the offense is increasing. I think Arizona throws a lot. I think they're down in that game and throw a lot. He's going to get a touchdown this week.
Okay.
Brandon Marshall.
And you love Brandon Marshall this week.
Brandon Marshall.
You love him.
He's finally getting double-digit targets in that offense. He is the guy that when Odell Beckham Jr. gets taken away or gets hurt, which apparently is every week now, or every other drive, Odell Beckham Jr. goes out with some sort of injury.
They call it the Jordan Howard.
Yeah, pretty much. It's Brandon Marshall who's the guy, the veteran. He's going to be able to make those big plays. I like Brandon Marshall this week.
We got a lot of questions about Brandon Marshall. This is like the third or fourth
I
question.
defer to you.
Then the answer is Brandon Marshall on most of them.
So, Jamie, I'll ask you, since you're not the hype train this week,
Yes.
And you pay very close attention to the New York Giants, are you feeling comfortable starting Brandon Marshall in a wide receiver 1 spot? Because I say hell.
Oh, no. I'm not even that hyped.
No.
Hell no.
No. Not comfortable in wide receiver 1 spot. I want to see it sustained. I want to see sustained production over a course of multiple weeks before I decide that he's still the 3rd option in New York. And sometimes the 4th option in that passing game. I still want to see it longer before I'm that confident that he's ready to be back to what he was before.
I would like to go to the other person. Okay, we're gonna skip over you. Okay, this is Tyler on Twitter.
Oh boy.
Buddy.
Poor Tyler.
Oh no, Tyler.
Stop.
Tyler.
Stop trying to make Eddie Lacy a thing.
Boy.
Stop. It's just not. I think that people now know what my reaction is when you hear about Eddie Lacy. But for the love of God, do not start Eddie Lacy. He kills you every week. He is a fantasy football dream killer. Stop.
So
do not play him.
_sports page.
right
let her
there.
know how much you love Eddie Lacy every week.
Yeah,
and whether you
don't
should start
do
him or
that
not.
because you will get blocked.
I'd ask her a question.
It's right there.
That's a
at the bottom of the
blockable
screen.
offense.
there
All
it is
right.
right
This one, our boy Super Mario on Twitter, he's coming back with a quarterback question, and he wants Goff or Flacco. This one's easy.
Goff.
Jared Goff.
I bought in. I know this is going to be the week that the
throws
Rams,
three,
for whatever reason, decide to lose to Seattle. Now that I finally bought into what they're doing.
Yes.
But you can't go into this week and not start Goff.
It's
There's no
also
reason
Joe
not to.
Flacco.
And yeah, Joe Flacco's bad. PAD not good.
PAD not good.
We got this one comes from Vince on Twitter. He wants to know Tariq Cohen or Jordan Howard. I'm starting Jordan Howard. The only thing with Tariq Cohen is if you're in a PPR league, it might be high upside, but I'm staying with the #1 overall guy, and I'm going Jordan Howard.
Yeah, it's clearly Howard. He's the best back in that offense.
Yep, Jordan Howard.
Jordan Howard? Hype train, you don't have any,
I don't think
you're not going to try and
Would you start Brandon Marshall over Jordan Howard?
Yeah, would you just start Brandon Marshall every time?
I might.
Is that where you are?
This week, I might start Brandon Marshall over
ridiculous.
Jordan Howard.
Oh my
You're
God!
you're
All right, this one
ridiculous.
comes
Jordan Howard
from.
plays on Monday Night Football. I may do it.
This one comes from the
So?
Night King on Twitter. Shout out to the Game of Thrones reference there. Start Andy Dalton versus the Bills or Alex Smith versus the Texans. I'll let you guys go first.
Alex Smith, just because, again, when you're facing two tough defenses, I'll go with the overall better football player.
I will take Alex Smith as well. Yep.
Alex Smith?
Yep, Alex Smith. Andy
All
Dalton
right.
threw 4 picks in a game this year.
That's your favorite
Is that
stat.
just you're just going to go back to that? That's your default
He threw
every
4
time?
picks in a game this year. Has Alex Smith done that? No, Alex Smith wins.
Is Alex Smith on 4 picks in the last season?
No.
Official is an injury update. Ty Montgomery is officially out. So
Not
as
shocking.
we
Play Aaron
expected.
Jones.
Okay, now we got a Aaron Jones. Perfectly timed question here. Isaiah Crowell this week versus the New York Jets or Aaron Jones at Dallas in a full PPR league.
I don't like either.
Aaron Jones.
But it's Aaron Jones.
Because
Yeah.
Crowell has negative value in a PPR league.
Yeah, it's
He's
Duke
not catching
Johnson.
much out of the ball out of the backfield.
It's Duke Johnson in that offense. So Aaron Jones has more value.
Okay. All right, let's go oh God.
We're answering these a little too quick for you.
No, I'm trying to type and answer
I know.
the responses and look up the questions. So
Eddie Lacy or...
yeah, we're just now you guys invited all these people to tweet
course
at me
we did.
about
Of course
stupid
we
Eddie
did. Of course
Lacy,
we
and now
did.
I have
That's
to deal with
that's
this.
our
And
job.
I would like to put the camera on them, and I'm going to send some angry tweets to them
All right.
about
Hi,
whatever
guys.
I deem that I
wanna talk
want
about?
angry tweets sent about you.
We're going to talk about it.
Let's talk about Eddie Lacy.
Okay, yeah, Eddie Lacy's a good fantasy
All
player.
right, back to me. And would you play Sterling Shepard or Rashard Matthews this week, week 5?
Sterling Shepard.
Sterling Shepard.
I'm not touching Rashard Matthews
Nope.
this week.
Yeah, I just don't.
Again, a guy who led the team in targets with
I know.
18 and is the #1 receiver
I
in that
know.
offense. With Corey Davis out, with Eric Decker not performing, he should be the guy. Yet again, 2 words: Matt Castle. You just can't do it. So I'm
you
taking
guys say
Sterling
that
Shepard.
together again?
Matt Castle.
All right.
In unison.
This is Tommy on Twitter at BensonNH, and he wants to know McKissick this week, who I know Jamie is liking just the upside play here, or Amir Abdullah.
Jamie was giving the heart out for
As much as I love McKissick, you have to go with Abdullah. He's going to get more guaranteed touches than McKissick will.
Ooh, this is such
McKissick may not get a touch in the game.
That's the
It wouldn't be
problem.
surprising because they're playing both Rawls and Lacy this week. That's sort of the problem. I think McKissick has more upside. This is the same thing we said when Chris Carson was healthy, right?
Absolutely.
Chris Carson's probably the most talented of the group, yet he's not getting the touches. And then he finally started to get them, and then he got hurt. I think it's the same thing with J.D. McKissick. He's probably the most talented of the group, but they're not going to go to him a lot. So I think Amir Abdullah.
Yeah, I need guaranteed touches.
Yeah,
that's
you
what
got to
Amir Abdullah provides.
play Amir Abdullah
Yep.
in this one. I don't think that's an easy one for us. All right, this one comes from the Dub Rebellion on Twitter, and he wants to know Alshon Jeffrey or Cooper Kupp.
So Jeffrey's going to have Patrick Peterson up against him
Yeah.
this week, and I don't care how much they try to move him around, it's going to be difficult. I'll take Cooper Kupp because they're going to have to pay attention to Sammy Watkins. They're going to have to pay attention to Woods. That's going to leave opportunities for Cooper Kupp to have those move the chains type plays.
Yes.
And in the PPR league, I think he has more value.
Yeah, slot receivers have had success against Seattle before, and yeah, Alshon Jeffrey against Patrick Peterson, or if they move him inside for a few plays against Tyrann Mathieu, I don't like any part of that.
Okay, this one comes from Scotty Mack on Twitter. He wants to know, should I start the Steelers defense this week or the Raiders? And he says, thank you in advance. Thanks,
The
you're welcome.
Steelers
You're welcome,
defense is playing Blake Bortles. They're good for at least 3 picks.
Yeah, Steelers at home or just Steelers at home.
Yeah,
It's
I'll take
simple
the
as that. I
Steelers
like
defense.
everything about them.
Yep, Steelers
bud.
defense.
Steelers, okay.
Blake Bortles was throwing the football against the Steelers.
Yeah, guaranteed. Get those
3
2
picks.
points.
Yeah,
Get
3
those free 2 points every other quarter or so.
Oh, and again, to repeat my statistic from earlier, Jacksonville has the highest sack percentage or sack rate in the league at 12.9. The next highest, 9.7, is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right, next up here we have Kevin McCrae. He wants to know, God, this is talk about being like riches.
It's a tough problem to have.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
this is like a tough
Okay.
problem to have.
All right.
But I think this is an easy one. He has Aaron Rodgers and he has Ben Roethlisberger. I like both these guys this week, but I'm always starting Aaron Rodgers. And you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but
No.
Sean Lee, the best defensive player for the Dallas Cowboys,
out.
is out this week, and I'm never not starting Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, as good as the matchup is for Roethlisberger and as much as always back home, Rodgers is the best QB in fantasy football. Dallas's defense is nothing special. I'm going Aaron Rodgers every week.
Yep, Aaron Rodgers, no Sean Lee. It doesn't change a whole lot. It's just going to give more opportunities for Aaron Rodgers to pick up those big plays. Yeah, it's Rodgers over Roethlisberger. Good problem to have, though.
Yeah, that's a really good problem to have, but I'm always starting Aaron Rodgers. All right, this one comes from, I love the Twitter handle, Haters Love Me 707, Pierre Garçon.
Is this your alternate Twitter account?
Yeah, this is Jamie live tweeting in the show
So,
from his burner, from his Kevin Durant burner account. Pierre Garçon or Golden Tate as the wide receiver 3 this week, fantasy football.
I think they're both decent options.
I
agree,
love
too.
Pierre Garçon this week.
Yeah.
I really do, because the Colts have given up all those points to opposing quarterbacks. That means somebody has to catch the ball from the quarterback. Pierre Garçon's the leader in that offense. And I know I talked about Trent Taylor a whole lot earlier. I like Pierre Garçon a lot, too.
I like Pierre Garçon as well. I think I'm going to go with him, but both options are really good. I think Golden Tate's going to get his today as well.
All right, who should I start in a flex? This one comes from Tom Roselle on Twitter. He wants to know if he should start Calvin Benjamin or Sterling Shepard in a flex position this week. These are two good guys to have in a flex spot.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I'm going to go Sterling Shepard.
Okay.
I think he's being used more in that offense. He's had more weeks of production. Funches is a decent play, but Shepard has been better the last few weeks, and I feel more confident starting him.
So what are my options, just again?
Calvin Benjamin or Sterling
Only
Shepard?
2 this time, Chris.
I was just making
Two.
sure.
It wasn't like a 5, it was 2.
I'll go Sterling Shepard.
It's 2. It's 2.
Sterling Shepard.
I thought you said you wanted to go first because you were looking something up.
No, I
Yeah,
wanted to
I
go
thought so,
first 'cause I
too.
wanted to think
Because you were
about it.
unsure of the players that were named.
I just wanted to think about it a little bit more, and I'll go with Sterling Shepard.
But how could you think about it more if you didn't remember what the second player was?
All right, before Jamie just completely destroys Chris live on the show, this one comes from Everly Jack on Twitter, and he wants to know Calvin Benjamin, another question about, or Adam Thielen in a standard league.
I like Adam Thielen. I like the other Benjamin, Travis.
Adam
on the
Thielen is
Chargers this
third
week.
overall in total
Wasn't the question,
targets in
but
the
no, I
NFL.
know.
Yeah.
We're talking about Benjamin.
How about you answer the question?
No, I won't take Calvin Benjamin this week. I'll take Adam Thielen. But if we're picking between Benjamins here,
We're
it's
not.
all about the
We're not.
Benjamins.
We're not.
We'll go Travis Benjamin.
Okay, thank you. Nobody asked you.
There you go.
Adam
Thanks for that
Thielen's the
fake
answer here.
hypothetical
Travis
question that you
Benjamin.
made up on the
You have
This
to
week.
tweet at Paige if you want to ask her which
Yeah,
Benjamin
okay,
to
yeah.
start.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Can I-
go ahead, Chris,
I'll
since
tweet
I
it to you
need
right
to
now,
fix
yeah.
your
Benjamin,
fantasy
Benjamin, or
football
Lacey?
life.
Oh, yeah.
Benjamin, I will block you. Chris is about to get blocked live on the show. It's going to be awesome. And all right, moving on. Cole on Twitter wants to know, who should I start this week? Russell Wilson or Cam Newton?
Russell Wilson.
Yep.
Yes.
No, Cam Newton had a great game against a bad defense. It was matchup specific. And trust me, I was the guy who ranted and raved about Cam Newton last week.
You can get breakfast for it.
I am going to get breakfast
Yeah,
for it.
and I am too. It's
Cam
the best.
Newton, Cam Newton is going to
So
play
good.
against a better defense this week in the Lions. Russell Wilson, I think, has more success against the Rams.
All right, we're only going to do 2 more questions here, and that is because Jamie owes us breakfast, and I want breakfast before the games start. All right, love you guys, but priorities here.
Oh, I forgot my wallet.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
darn.
We'll make sure that you get it before we go. This one comes from Johnny on Twitter, and he wants to know Tyrell Williams or Sammy Watkins for a flex position this week.
Okay.
It's a good one.
I think this is one's up for debate.
This is a tough one.
There's going to be moments where Eli Apple's on Tyrell Williams today, and he might be able to catch a touchdown. It's why I like both Travis Benjamin and Tyrell Williams.
As bad as the Chargers offense we think is going to be in this game, they're going to score at least 1 touchdown. They're going to get a few yards in this
2.
game. I've always liked Tyrell Williams. I'm going to go Tyrell Williams just because I think he is going to get more volume than I think Sammy Watkins is. Even though Watkins is the more high upside play, I guess it goes back to my theme. If you need a high upside play in your flex spot, if you think you're the underdog in your matchup, go with Sammy Watkins. If you need a safer bet, I think it's Tyrell Williams.
I think Sammy Watkins is going to have the worst matchup in terms of the corner against him. I think there's
Yes.
going to be opportunities for Tyrell Williams to have those big plays, so I'll play Tyrell Williams.
It's across the board, Williams. This is the last one. This one comes from Scotty on Twitter, and he wants to know, Scotty.
Eddie Lacy.
Oh,
Eddie Lacy?
Scotty. No.
Oh, okay.
Jacoby Brissett
My starting quarterback this week.
or Carson Palmer.
Carson Palmer.
I'm starting Carson
Yeah,
Palmer.
I'm starting Carson as well.
Carson.
As much as I'm down on Carson, I play him
Volume,
over Brissett.
volume.
Yeah,
he's throwing
I
the
just
ball
also
at
I'm
literally
never.
every play.
I know Jamie, but I'm not ever starting Jacoby
Yeah,
Brissett.
sorry, Jamie.
Sorry, Jamie.
You're going to have to give
But,
us an update on how that goes.
Yeah,
I
I'm
will.
gonna need live Periscope. Hey Periscope, we're also you guys can always find us on Periscope. So for those of you who want to check us out, we're on Twitter, and you can always check out the Periscope, which is awesome.
Periscope
we love doing
feed
that.
right down there.
Periscope feed. Ty, I would love to show you guys these cleats, but go on Twitter, type in the name Leonard Fournette, and then know
his
that
cleats good. Let me see his cleats.
they're fire. He's scoring 20
Everything I said
today.
about Leonard Fournette, I take back. Leonard Fournette RB1 this week.
Three tutties.
3 touchdowns for Leonard Fournette. Those
All right,
cleats
guys.
are amazing.
Those cleats are amazing, but we got to go have some breakfast, and it's time for you to make sure that you have completed your lineup. It better be set. It better be ready to go because these games kick off in about a half hour. Any parting thoughts, Jamie and Chris?
Don't play Frank Gore.
Okay.
You hate Frank Gore.
Don't play Frank Gore.
I'm also starting Frank Gore in a flex spot this week.
Dear
I'm in a bad
God,
spot.
Jamie, your
Jamie,
team is
My
trash.
3-1 team is in a bad spot.
We should have spent the whole show just helping you. You're playing Frank Gore and Jacoby Brissett.
Yes.
Or destroying your team. That would have also been fun. But in some way, somehow, Jamie will find a way to win because that's what Jamie does.
Yeah.
I'm a winner. Winners win, Chris.
Winners win, Chris. All right. Well, for Jamie Eisner and Chris Schubert, I'm Paige Demakos. Good luck today in fantasy football and have a great Sunday. Bye, guys.